To AWANI tonight with me, Cynthia Ng. End of MCO for all states, and how do we address party hopping among MPs? That's coming up. The Health Ministry today reported 1,555 new COVID-19 cases, dropping to levels not seen since late December last year. However, 6 new deaths were reported, of which 4 were in the Klang Valley.
Selangor still had the highest number of COVID-19 cases at 672, followed by Johor, Sarawak and Kuala Lumpur. Meanwhile, Health Director General Tan Sri Dr. Nur Hisham Abdullah said 2 more COVID-19 vaccines have been granted conditional approval, making it a total of 3 vaccines approved for inoculation here. They are AstraZeneca's solution for injection vaccine, the CoronaVac suspension for injection by China's Sinovac, and Pfizer's Comirnaty concentrate for dispersion for injection. He said the National Pharmaceutical Regulatory Division NPRA is still evaluating 2 other vaccines, including the Russian-made Sputnik V. Prior to this, Malaysia has only approved the usage of the COVID-19 vaccine produced by Pfizer-BioNTech.
A sigh of relief for states under the Movement Control Order. Starting 5th of March, Kuala Lumpur, Selangor, Penang and Johor will be placed under the Conditional MCO or CMCO until March 18th. Senior Minister Datuk Sri Ismail Sabri Yaakob said the decision is made because the number of COVID-19 cases in the country have shown a downward trend, while the R0 or the infectivity rate has decreased from 1.2 to 0.8.
Meanwhile, Kedah, Kelantan, Negeri Sembilan and Sarawak will continue to be placed under CMCO, while Melaka, Pahang, Terengganu, Sabah and federal territories of Putrajaya and Labuan are to join Perlis under the Recovery MCO. Ismail added that while the inter-district travel will now be allowed in all states under CMCO except Sabah, interstate travel is still not allowed. Some of the sectors allowed to restart operations from 6 a.m. to 12 a.m. under CMCO include tourism activities such as adventure parks, museums and zoos at 50% capacity. Spa, reflexologies and manicure and pedicure services are also allowed to reopen, while social gatherings including wedding ceremonies will also be allowed for all communities with attendance capped at 50% of the venue capacity.
Private hospitals want to be roped in to help expedite efforts to inoculate the population against COVID-19. The Association of Private Hospitals Malaysia has urged the government to allow its members to buy supply of vaccines and run their own vaccination programs. We speak with the association's president, Datuk Dr. Kujit Singh.
Private hospitals in Malaysia are happy to procure vaccines from different sources once the approval are given by NPRA. The reason is private hospitals strongly feel that some assistance should be given to the government, as the current 3-stage program that the government has, which ends in February 2022, is extremely long and not acceptable.
Private hospitals, he said, could be mobilized very fast to complement the effort of the government in ensuring the majority of the population is vaccinated in the shortest possible time to assist in achieving herd immunity. However, Minister in charge of inoculations, Khairi Jamaluddin, said there are no supplies for private hospitals at the moment, but the suggestion could be considered later.
We are in the opinion this would be a good impetus to start the economy via business and leisure travel and also help hospitality industry. Some form of vaccine passport may have to be introduced, but to avoid any discrimination.
We'll take a short break. Stay with us.
Soal berita, tiada masa untuk tunggu. Kepada anda kami bawakan fakta, susulan dan kupasan yang terkini. Tiada drama dan tiada pengulangan. Usah tunggu lama-lama. AWANI 7.45 lebih awal dari biasa.
kini berwajah baru.
Ini pula susulan khas pesawat Back Air di Kazakhstan. Pesawat berkenaan dilaporkan tergelincir 2 kali.
Notifikasi berita terkini dan navigasi mudah. Podcast dikemas kini dengan berita dan program.
Rebirth, Reformasi, Resistance and Hope.
Serta video tanpa had dengan scroll tanpa henti. Buat turun aplikasi baru Astro AWANI sekarang.
Gagalan Kerajaan Persekutuan Tunai Janji melakukan
Welcome back. 1 year into the Perikatan Nasional Administration, electoral watchdog Bersih 2.0 reiterates calls for reforms to prevent party hopping. Chairperson Thomas Fan warned that excessive incumbency advantages will lead to more defectors among elected representatives and undermine the country's parliamentary democracy.
The Sheraton move basically kind of opened up a Pandora box of issues, and it actually exposes the weaknesses in our political system, structural weaknesses. And I think people realize that they can do this and get away with it. It is not illegal to defect, and in defection it comes with a lot of rewards as well, ministerial posts, and able to hold the government to ransom, and different things.
According to Thomas, one of the key reasons for defections is the unequal treatment received between a government lawmaker and an opposition lawmaker.
We see that part of the problem why people defect is that often they defect to be with the government of the day, to escape any sort of potential prosecution or investigation into what has happened, because right now the Attorney General is also the public prosecutor, is one and the same person. Whereas the Attorney General primary function is really to advise the government of the day, whereas the public prosecutor's function is to decide who to prosecute. So oftentimes we find this problem where the people in oppositions are filed with charges or investigated. So there has to be a separation of the two offices.
Thomas also said that one of the common reasons offered by defectors is the need for Constituency Development Fund in order to serve their constituency well.
The system has been in place for a long time, at least from the 70s until now. And under the Barisan Nasional government, it is just common knowledge that if you are not with government, you get zero. Under Pakatan Harapan at G14, Pakatan Harapan improved a little bit in the sense that the opposition get about 100,000. I'm just talking about the federal level MPs. That continue under Perikatan. But the MPs aligned with the government gets about 3.5 to 3.7 million a year in CDF to give out to local development needs as they see fit within a certain criteria. Now, I think whether we need this or not depends on the constituency. I think in more rural constituency, there is probably justification because not all development reaches down to that level in the rural area. But in the more urban area where you normally do see the local authorities and state government and federal government addressing development in those areas, there's less justification to need to use this CDF. And especially, I think voters in urban area didn't vote for an MP because they expect the MP to receive this fund. They voted for change.
When asked whether there are valid reasons for defections, Thomas said that not all who left their party are for bad reasons.
It is within the rights of an elected person to associate himself with parties. And not all defections or people leaving their party are for bad reasons. It really depends on the circumstances. Many years ago, when Syaril Samad left UMNO, our principal disagreement with the party leadership, he contested again and he won as an independent against UMNO. And what about the last election before that? Of course, when you talk about people leaving, you also got to talk about people who were sacked by their party leadership for disagreement, like Muhyiddin Yassin himself and Shafiq Abdal. Najib sacked them, and you know, so there has to be that. Well, I think disagreement with the direction of the party. For example, if a party that won an election on a certain promises, but then decided to go the other way and not fulfill those promises, or a party that has become kleptocratic, I think MPs have to have that freedom to be able to disagree with their leadership, even to the point of leaving the party. I think if that is the case, the people will support that. So that's why our recommendation for recall elections return the option to the voters of that constituency to decide whether this action by the MP is justified or not. So I say there would be some justifiable reasons.
Tonight on Consider This, Sharat Kutan and Melissa Idris asked Julau MP Larry Singh why he defected from PKR. They also speak to political analyst Professor James Chin about the unique features of Sarawak politics and what these most recent defections will mean for the balance of power at the federal level. On to international news. 3 people were critically injured when security forces fired live rounds at anti-coup protesters in Myanmar today. Police have adopted more aggressive tactics in trying to stop the protests, including firing stun grenades and tear gas at demonstrators. At least 18 protesters have been killed since the turmoil began after the junta seized power from the civilian government last month. Meanwhile, ASEAN foreign ministers in a virtual meeting today called for restraint and dialogue within Myanmar to solve the crisis triggered by the military coup on February 1st.
Malaysia, represented by Foreign Minister Datuk Seri Hishammuddin Hussein, reiterates for the release of the detained civilian leaders and for all parties to continue exercising restraint with regards to the use of violence against unarmed civilians. Hishammuddin also pointed out that if the situation in Myanmar worsened, it would greatly impact the region's peace and stability, thus urging the country to return to the negotiating table. Malaysia also presented proposals on the way forward for Myanmar, which includes a visit by ASEAN Chair and Secretary General to the country.
Indonesia's Mount Sinabung sent a cloud of hot ash as high as 5 kilometers into the sky today, its first big eruption since August last year. No casualties were reported, but people are urged to stay at least 3 kilometers from the crater.
Alert for the volcano in North Sumatra province has been placed at second highest level. Sinabung was dormant for 4 centuries before erupting in 2010, killing 2 people. Another eruption in 2014 killed 17 people, while 7 died in a 2016 eruption. Sinabung is among more than 120 active volcanoes in Indonesia, which is located in the Ring of Fire, an arc of volcanoes and fault lines encircling the Pacific Ocean.
And that is all we have for you on AWANI tonight. Get the latest news updates on COVID-19 and COVID-19 vaccines from astroawani.com and Astro Awani app. I'm Cynthia Ng. We'll see you tomorrow.